Alright, good afternoon or morning or whatever class this is. So today, I'm sorry I'm not here today. I will be back Tuesday. If this is Ms. McCoy's class, she'll be back on Monday. We are starting a new unit. Your tests are in the grade book, and whatever grade you have is going to be what's on the progress report. If you have issues with that, you can send me a message on Remind, but really, what can I do? I'm out of state. Anything you want to fix or correct, we will do next week after school. So, we are going to move on to a new unit. This unit is going to be a mix of learning. Most of this you should have learned in 7th grade, I believe, and then also some algebra with it. So, we have 2 airplanes. Obviously, they're not at the same level, but they pass each other and leave this, and they create some angles. So I need you to get out your notebooks. We are adding a page 12, and we are going to call this page 12 Transversals. So add page 12 is in your table of contents. Transversals. If at any time during this video I am talking too fast or you need more time to write, if you can just ask the sub to pause it to give y'all some time to write down, and then she can play it, stopping and going. If she doesn't mind doing that, or he, sorry, then that will help y'all get all the notes, please. So all of this will be on page 12. So the first thing that you are going to write, and we're going to ignore that, is a transversal. A transversal is a line that intersects 2 or more other lines in the same plane at different points. So T is my transversal. I would like you to write all of this definition down along with the picture. And I am going to highlight T because on your homework tonight, I'm going to have you identify the transversal. The transversal is the line that is cutting through 2 other lines. Okay. So it is intersected twice. Okay, again, pause if y'all need more time. All right, next we have alternate interior angles. So alternate interior angles are angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So remember, my transversal is T right here. If they're alternate, they're on opposite sides, but they're inside these 2 lines right here. They're in between them. So you see how in between, right here and right here, angle 3 and angle 4 are alternate interior angles. And we also, I would like you to write somewhere, you're going to see a lot this unit, I'm going to call them AIA. Alternate interior angles are AIA. So 3 and 4 are alternate interior angles, but so are this angle right here and this angle right here. Also, they're on opposite sides and they're in between the 2 lines. So there are 2 sets of alternate interior angles here. Okay. Next one, same side interior angles. Same side interior angles, or like we like to call it, SSIA. Same side interior angles. They're on the same side of my transversal. So here is my transversal. And do you see how they're both on the right? So that's why they're same side. And they're in between these 2 lines. So they're inside the 2 lines. So angles 1 and angle 2 are same side interior angles. And you're probably thinking, oh, but look at the other side. These purple arcs, they're on the same side and they're both inside. So those are also same side interior angles. And I know I'm making these arcs, but that doesn't mean they're congruent. I'm just showing you the ones that go with this. Next vocabulary word is alternate exterior. And guess what we call this one? AEA. So again, you have your transversal T. Your alternate exteriors are on opposite sides of the transversal and outside of the two lines. So they're not in between the two lines now, they're outside of them. So we have angle 9 and angle 10 are alternate, different sides, exterior, outside of the two lines. And like before, we also have this one and the purple ones. They are on opposite sides of that transversal, outside of my two lines. And I haven't said this, but please draw the pictures for each of them. That helps. If you want colored pencils, they're at the back. You know where they are. All right. Same side exterior is SSEA. Same side exterior. So again, it's in the name. You have your transversal, and you're looking for two of them that are on the same side, but outside of these lines. So not in between them. So we have 7 and 8. They're on the same side of that yellow line, but they're outside of those two lines. And then these are on the same side, but outside. Last one, vocabulary word, is corresponding angles. And honestly, these are the ones that get people tripped up the most. So be careful. We abbreviate this one CA. So corresponding angles lie on the same side in the same position. So the way that I always do this one is if I have a transversal, they're intersections, right? Do you see how this is on the top right-hand side of that intersection, and this is on the top right-hand side? Those are corresponding angles. They correspond because they're in the same spot, top right. This is the bottom right, and this is the bottom right. So those are corresponding angles. Then we have top left goes with the top left. Those are corresponding. And then we have the bottom left goes with this bottom left. So those are corresponding angles. I know that looks kind of trippy, but your angles correspond in the position. That's how you know which one it is. All right, so we're going to practice a little bit. It blacked it out so I can't see what these are. Let me see. Okay. All right, so let's practice. Ooh. Practice right here. So it says using the figure, name the type of each angle. So for my first one, angle 1 and angle 2. Angle 1 and 2, what type of angles are those? Y'all, we haven't done this. This is an old vocabulary word. They're in linear pair. They're LP. Angle 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair. Okay. What about angle 1 and angle 3? Angle 1 and angle 3. They're on the same side because, again, this is my transversal. It's the one that's intersecting two lines. They're on the same side, 1 and 3, but one's outside and one's inside. So they're both in the top left. So this is corresponding angles. Okay. Angle 8 and angle 4. Angle 8 and angle 4. They are on different sides, so they're going to be alternating. And they are not between these two lines, so they are exterior angles. Okay. Angle 2 and angle 3. 2 and 3, they're on the same side of the yellow line, and they're in between. So same side, oops, sorry. In between the two is interior angles. Angle, oh, this is getting dark. Angle 7 and angle 3. 7 and 3, they're on opposite sides, so alternate sides. And they're in between, so they are interior angles. Angle 5, I'm going to write this right here. Angle 5 and angle 7. So 5 and 7, they're on the same side, but one's inside, one's outside. So that means they're both on the bottom right. So that's corresponding angles, because they're both on the bottom right. Angle 4 and angle 6. 4 and 6, they're on alternate. Be careful. This is the one that trips everybody up every year because y'all try to get all complicated. What are those? Vertical angles. Those aren't any new vocabulary words. That's old. Right across from each other, still vertical angles. And then last but not least, angle 8 and angle 3. 8 is right here, 3 is right here. They are alternate, but one's inside and one's outside. None of our vocabulary were alternate, one inside, one outside. They can't be corresponding angles because this is the top right and this is the top left. So it's nothing. They don't work. Alrighty, now you are going to get your homework. You have about, oh my gosh, it's only 15 minutes so far, so you have about 40 minutes to do this. You should be able to complete it. I'm going to do one in each section for you, just so you can see my expectations. So this top part, you're just answering these questions. I will count off. So OH is parallel to, which lines are OH parallel to? SG. If you put that, I'm counting off. It's a segment. It needs a segment. SG, AE, and RC. So you're just answering these questions, goes back to points, lines, and planes. It does tell you this is a cube, so you're not assuming they're parallel, you're not assuming perpendicular. Cubes have squares on them, so you know that they are perpendicular. All right, part 2. What is the transversal here? Which line is the one cutting two of the lines? That would be A. So line A. And then you're just naming what it says. If I say name two pairs of alternate interior angles, AIA, on different sides in between these two, that would be angle 4 and angle 5. If you don't put the angle sign, I'm counting off. 4 and 5 are alternate interior. What else is alternate interior? Angle 3 and angle 6. Again, if I'm going too fast, just pause. Okay, you'll be doing this for that whole section right there. And I know down here there's multiple, just give me one, you don't have to do all of them. Turning over your half sheet, part 3. Ooh, this one's a little bit more complicated. So this time you have to read what it says. It says, using lines M and L, so we're looking at these two lines, R is my transversal. So I'm not even worrying about this right now for question 15. So it says name a pair of alternate interior angles. So that's AIA again. Alternate on different sides inside would be angle 4 and angle 6. You also could get 3 and 5. But it just says a pair, so I only need one. B says name a pair of corresponding angles. Remember, corresponding angle CA is in the same position, so there's a ton of them. But I like top right, so 2 and 6. You could do 1 and 5, 4 and 8, or 3 and 7. So you're going to do the same thing with 16 and 17, but your transversal is changing. All right, part 4 is the one that everybody gets confused every year. They always have questions. So I'm just going to answer question 20 for you. Okay? So it says angle 1 is right here, and ADC. A to D to C is this whole thing right here. And they're like, Miss Alvarez, there's no transversal. There is. We can just extend these lines. Now, these two lines touch both of these, so I am just looking at this right here. My transversal is AD. Are they same side or alternate? They're on the same side. And are they inside or outside? They're interior angles. Okay? That'll help you with 23. And then part 5, you're just looking at this. I have 8 and 6. What are 8 and 6 doing? They're both top right, so that is corresponding angle C. To let you know, you may reuse some of these letters. You may not use them. Just keep that in mind. All right, you need to get this done. You can turn it in if you finish today, or you can turn it in on Monday. I will take it for a grade either way. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Behave, be safe. See you later. All right, hello everybody. Happy Monday. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I am going to be back tomorrow, so please, again, be on your best behavior for the sub. We are just going to watch this video, and then you are going to do homework. You are going to need protractors today, so if I can get a volunteer to pass out protractors to everybody, I'd appreciate it. And also, if a volunteer wants to pass out the papers for the sub, you'd be amazing. So, remember, no phones right now while you're watching this video, and if you need to pause the video at any point, just let the sub know. So, to review what we did yesterday, you don't actually have to do this on a note card, but we're just looking up here right now. If I have 9 and 16, so here's 9, here's 16, so we're not even using this, so I'm going to cover it up. 9 and 16, this is my transversal. So they're on opposite sides of the transversal, so they're alternate. And they are outside of these two lines, so they are exterior angles. 6 and 7, here's 6, here's 7. Again, this is nothing, so C is my transversal. And they are on the same side, and they are in between A and B, so it's interior angles. 11 and 16, here's 11, here's 16. They're on opposite sides, but hey, they're vertical angles. They're just old vocabulary words. And then last but not least, 2 and 4. Here's 2. Here's 4. C is my transversal. And they're on the same side. One's inside, one outside. So they are both in the bottom left-hand corner. That's corresponding angles. All right, if you can pass this worksheet out. There are 2 versions of this worksheet. So it doesn't really matter which one you get. But I would like you to get a protractor. And I want you to measure all 8 of these angles. So get a protractor. Everybody needs a protractor. And you're measuring all 8 of these angles. If you can pause the video for about 3 minutes so everybody can measure. And then we will come back. Alright, again, there are 2 versions of this, so I'm going to give you the answers to version 2. If I take this, my protractor, make sure it's on 0. And this angle right here is obtuse, so it goes to about, if I were to extend this, it's going to about 120. So this angle is 120 degrees. Now, based on what we know, I don't really have to measure everything else, because if this is 120, my vertical angles are 120. And then again, they make a linear pair. So if that's 120, what's that one? 60 degrees and 60 degrees. Okay, now I'm going to come over here. And again, make sure it's at 0. It's a little off. It's okay. I'm going to put it, it's close enough to 60. I'm going to say this one is 60. So then that one has to be the linear pair, which is 120 because they add up to 180. And then 60 degrees because they're vertical angles, and 120 degrees because they're vertical angles. So that was version 2. Version 1, let me see, let me find some version 1s. Here's version 1. Version 1, you should have had different angles. Your angles should have been, let's see, oh, your angles were also 60 and 120, but yours were also opposite. 60 was here and 120 was here. So, why do these follow this trend? Well, something that is special about these lines, if you read the top, is that these lines are parallel. So, today we are going to be talking about parallel lines when they're cut by a transversal. Friday, when you learned about the different sayings, those lines didn't have to be parallel. These were just random lines. Today we're going to be dealing with only parallel lines. So, something I want you to notice and fill out, and we can take this into your notebook, is if two lines are parallel, then AIA, alternate, so they're on opposite sides, interior, will be 60 and 60. AIA are congruent. They are the same. And by the way, congruent symbol that you're going to see is that. Alternate exterior, AEA, so on opposite sides, but on the exterior, what do you notice about those? They are also congruent. CA, corresponding angles, top right, what are they? Top left, they are also congruent. So, AIA, AEA, and CA are always going to be congruent if the lines are parallel. Only if the lines are parallel. Now, SSIA, same side interior. So, on the same side in their inside. They're not congruent because one's 60 and one's 20. But what are these two angles? Supplementary. They add up to 180. Okay? And then SSEA, same side exterior, 120 and 60, 120 and 60, they are as well supplementary. Okay, so that's the basis of what we are learning today. You can tape this in here. I would like you to make a new note page, so we should be on page 13. Go to page 13, and we are going to title page 13 Parallel, oops, spelled that wrong, Lines Cut by a Transversal. I know that's super long, I apologize. Page 13 is going to be titled Parallel Lines Cut by a Transversal. And I would like you to make a T-chart. One side to say congruent, the other side to say supplementary. So what are your congruent vocabulary words when they're parallel? It has to be parallel. And again, if I'm going too fast, just have the sub pause. Congruent. Things that are congruent are vertical angles. Angles that are congruent. Sorry. Alternate interior angles. Alternate exterior angles. And corresponding angles. The ones that are supplementary, linear pairs. And these are always going to be congruent and supplementary. But SSIA and SSEA. And these right here are only with parallel lines. Okay? So these are only supplementary if they're parallel lines. These are only congruent if they're parallel lines. Alright, so we're going to do about 5 examples now. And you do not have to write all of these down. I'm going to tell you the ones I want you to write down. Okay? In order to know which ones are congruent, you have to have something telling you that the lines are parallel. So right here, I'm telling you that A is parallel to B and C is parallel to D. So automatically, if I know this is X, what's my vertical angle? Because they're congruent. And if I know this is Y, my vertical angle is Y. Based on what we just, and you're not writing this one down, I apologize. You don't write this one down, I'll tell you when to. Based on what we know, if this is X, so is my either AIA, CA, or AEA. So you can choose which one you want to do. I always do the alternate interior angles because those are always going to be congruent. So that one's also X. And if that one's X, my vertical angle is X. But look, because C and D are parallel, this is X. Here's another alternate interior angle. And also those are corresponding angles as well because they're top left, top left. And corresponding angles are also congruent. That's X. That's X. And then this one has an alternate interior angle with this one, so it's X. And look, those are corresponding. Corresponding is congruent. And vertical angle. So what do you think is going to happen to the Y's? Everything else is Y. If you know that AB is parallel to CD, and you have like these 4 lines intersecting, you know, if you know one angle, you know all the angles. So if I tell you angle 3 is 30 degrees, what would angle 8 be? And then all the corresponding angles to these would also be 30 degrees. Now be careful, this only works because they're parallel. Remember, if I didn't have this right here, I wouldn't be able to know this. Now because I know this is 30, what does 7 have to be? It has to be 150 because they're a linear pair. And now that I know that one, can't I fill in everything else? Okay. So, let's zoom into these two. I would like you to write this example down. Now these symbols right here, these mean that the lines are parallel. And so if you know my parallel lines, then you know my alternate interior angles are congruent. And because we obviously also know vertical angles are congruent, we can fill in everything else. What about the other angles? They have to be a linear pair, supplementary, so 80, 80, 80, and 80. You don't have to write this one down, but it's the same exact thing. All of these lines are parallel to each other, so once I know one of them, I can figure out all of them. Example 2, I would like you to write down, please. This one right here, write that one down. So for example 2, I know that these two lines are parallel, but I know nothing about these two. So really, I'm going to have to hide this because I know nothing about this side. It's not parallel. I can't guess any of the angles. So I'm only going to be able to use this 120 with this side in the parallel lines. So if that's 120, my vertical angle is 120. My alternate interior angle is 120, and so my vertical angle is 120. What would the other angle be? It's going to be 60 because it's a linear pair. And again, I don't know if this is parallel, so I cannot conclude anything about it. Don't assume. Okay, you don't have to write this one down either, but same thing. I know these two lines are parallel, so I'm going to have to ignore this when I'm dealing with that one because these two are not parallel. So if that's 120, it's back to what I did before. And then over here, I know these two lines are parallel. This is my transversal. So if that's 100, I can fill in this. Last but not least, I have 3 lines that are parallel, so I can just do corresponding angles. Bottom left, bottom left, bottom left, and then their vertical angles. And then can't I figure out the linear pair and do the rest? Okay, and then we have 2 more examples to write down, and we are done. All right, and let's do this. This is example 3. Please draw this. So for this problem, I know these lines are parallel. I'm going to extend them to make it look a little bit more like what we're used to. I don't know about these 2 lines, so I don't really care about this. So now I have a transversal. What are these 2 angles? They're on the same side, and they're interior. So this is a same side interior angle problem. And if they're same side interior angles, look at your chart. What does that mean they are? They equal 180. So how would I solve this problem? I'm going to take this angle plus this angle and add it up to 180. And now we're just back to our regular algebra problems. 2x minus 26 equals 180. 2x equals 206. So x equals 103. Is that right? Okay. So then that means this angle is 103. And then 103 minus 26 is 77. So you have your 2 angles. Again, I don't know if that side's parallel. I don't know any information. Okay, next you're going to draw this one as well. Last example we're doing, example 4. I'm going to extend these 2 lines and draw my transversal. So what do I have? I'm given this angle and this angle. What are those? They're both top right, top right. This is corresponding angles. And if it's corresponding angles looking at your chart, what does that mean? They're congruent. So what can I do to these 2 things? Equal them. Set them equal, and then you would solve. And then to find each angle, 3 times 30 is 90, minus 5 is 85. 30 plus 55 is 85. And doesn't that make sense that they should add up, or they should equal? And then you could also find this angle right here, or this. I can't find anything right here because that line is not parallel. Oops. All right. Again, if you need, take a second, you can pause the video right here. If I can have another volunteer for the sub, pass out the homeworks. And this is due tomorrow for a grade. You have about 30 minutes left of class that you could probably get this done. I don't mind you working together, but please make sure you stay in your seat, and I'll be back tomorrow. Have a good day.